Greetings, Eric's UK here, back for another vid. First off, I apologise if I'm a little bit hoarse. I've got a bit of a cold coming on, I think. Hopefully it won't impact it too much on us. This is a vid that I've been trying to do actually on and off for about 6 months. And I found it very difficult to do, simply on... It's easy to explain the positives of what I'm talking about here, and that means that the focus is more on what I perceive as the negative, when in fact I'm actually trying to push the positive side of this, and it's never quite come off right for me, so I'm hoping that you'll take this in the way I kind of mean it, rather than me focusing on the negative. Basically, this is about Pathfinder Society, or PFS. Now, what is Pathfinder Society? Pathfinder Society is the organised play that Paizo Publishing does for its Pathfinder role-playing game. If you are familiar from the old days with things like Living Greyhawk, you'll understand what this is. It's essentially a way that you can participate in an semi kind of ongoing Pathfinder campaign. You create a character using a slightly tweaked version of the rules, which you can download from their website. And then you can go to anywhere that's hosting a Pathfinder Society event, and assuming there's space at tables, you can join in. They run a series of scenarios. I think there's almost 200 scenarios at this point in time. And they range within level brackets. So to start with, you might have something that's just for level 1-2s, but commonly it's 1-5s, 5-7, 7-11, and 12 is the general retirement for characters in PFS. Though there are a few modules which allow you to play over that. And essentially the way it works is a scenario is designed for a 4-hour time slot. So essentially an evening's play. So you can turn up with your character, you can play the session, and then unlike a normal home game where if Bob can't make it because of the kids or work or whatever, he misses out and the game sort of misses out. Here it doesn't matter because every scenario is self-contained. There are plots sort of like running through it. Each of the seasons as they do them has a kind of overarching thing. It doesn't actually really matter which order you do them in. It's designed to show you sort of like a living world essentially. So yeah, you can just play when you can make it sort of thing, and it doesn't hurt your character at all. Other big change is experience points are done simply as one scenario is worth 1 XP. When you get 3 XP, you level, and every 3 XP is a new level. And at the end of a scenario, you'll be given a chronicle sheet for that particular character. Normally you can only buy basic gear, alchemical equipment, and scrolls potions of 0 first level spells, and +1 weapons and armours. As you level, you can buy other things, but a lot of it you can get early because it will appear on a chronicle sheet. So eventually you might do a first, a low level scenario, but you will get so much gold and the option to buy a potion of cure moderate wounds, which is great to start with, because it means you can buy it before your fame limit will allow you to do so. That is basically it in a nutshell. So what did I have trouble with? Quite simply, trying to put across the positives is really difficult, because if you are like me and you love Pathfinder as a role-playing game, you are going to like PFS. Everything you like about the game is in there. And that's the problem. I can't give you more positive because, as I say, if you like Pathfinder, you're going to like this. So, unfortunately, this vid does tend to fall onto the bracket of one of the things that I personally have issues with. And they are as follows. One, and these are in no particular order, one of the things I don't like is, the one reason why they give you a chronicle is anything that your character finds during a scenario, you give back at the end of the session. You don't get to keep anything. The Pathfinder Society takes it off with you. That includes all the gold, all the gems, any magical treasure you find, any objet d'art, whatever. They take it off you, and then they decide what you have back. Now, it's a balance issue. Fair enough. You know, first scenario, you don't necessarily want someone being able to have 2+1 weapons or whatever the villain's got. But they do the same thing with mundane gear. You know, so you could do a scenario set in the docks of Absalom. You could pick up 2 coils of hemp rope and walk off with them. But you give them back at the end of the scenario. And it's like, why am I giving this back? This is bog standard mundane gear. It's nothing to do with the society. And the general response would be, oh, but you could sell that, and if you sold enough of these, you could buy, you know, a healing potion or blah, or new suit of armour. It's like, well, and, you know, I can understand where people might push that and take the mick with it, but I just find it a little bit silly. I can live with it, you know, it's not a problem, but something about that kind of rubs me the wrong way. Secondly, and this is quite a big one for me, there are balance issues in the scenarios. Most scenarios are kind of by the book, as it were. You can expect encounters that are easy, you can expect encounters that are, or most of them should be spot on for your levels, or rough levels, and you can expect something that's a bit of a challenge. Fine, you know, no argument for me, except there are scenarios where the authors have either not understood this, and Paizo have let it through to go out as a published scenario, and the encounters are far too hard. They're far too... the encounter level's far higher than they should be for characters of that sort of level. In fact, I had a scenario, well, it would have been end of last year, so end of 2013, that almost made me quit playing PFS because of the stupid nature of what you were facing. I won't name the scenario, because I think that's a little unfair, because people's experiences may be different to mine. But let's just say that it was quite the cakewalk up until the end, and then the villain was far too powerful for a party of first and second level characters. When your villain can turn around from nowhere and then strike you for basically 5d6 plus whatever other bonuses, and boom, a first, second level character is dead. Which is what happened to me. And one of the players with me at the time, well, a couple of players, but one of them said, the author of this scenario has decided ahead of time that they're going to kill a character off. And at low tier, I can fully believe that. And then there are other scenarios where some of the encounters, let's just say they've added class levels, and you kind of go, that wasn't needed, because now that villain or that monster is just far too hard for the characters that are going up against it. There's challenge, and then there's taking the mech. But these are few and far between. Most of those I found to be quite fine. It obviously also depends on how tactically minded your GM is and how well they're going to put, or whether they're going to play the monsters and the villains to their fullest. Sometimes I think in PFS you kind of have to tone that down a little bit. Which kind of brings me to my third point, is you cannot change anything. You have to run that scenario as it is, as it's written. And that's fine up to a point, but I've had scenarios that I've run where I've looked at it and gone, the threats you face for levels 1 and 2 are pathetic. I mean, and I'm not saying that just for the sake of it, they are pathetic, but the encounters for the tier 4 5 would be perfect for 1 and 2. But you're not allowed to change that. You've still got to run with exactly what's here. You've got to play the tactics of the villains exactly as they are, unless something, as exactly as written, unless something happens to change that. It's like, well, I'm sorry, but some of these tactics are absolutely ludicrous. Why would someone do that when this is a better option? So I don't like some of the control factors that Paizo have put into this, and I don't like how some of the encounters are far too good for what they should be. But saying all that, I have had a good time with PFS, and locally we've generated quite a lot of interest. We've got a lot of young people coming in and playing the game now, and routinely we end up with 3 full tables of 5 or 6 players. It's really, really good. And if you can get that sort of group where everybody kind of chimes in. People take their turn at running games. You know, you can even play PFS at home. To be fair, you don't need to have a store or a venue running it, as long as you're prepared to. Well, if you don't even need to do that, you could just download the scenarios and play them. But if you're going to do it as PFS, you could quite simply just play it at home using what you get. And it's a one way of ensuring that, you know, if Bob can't make the game this week, you can still play. There are NPCs that you can download from the Paizo site. So as long as you've got 3 players, you can have an NPC take up the 4th slot. Boom, sorted. You know, and it doesn't matter that Bob's character is now an XP behind everybody, because Bob could take his character off to a store in the next town over or a convention and gain more XP. He can play 2 sessions between that. If his character goes out of the tier for everybody else, he can make a new one. It all works really, really well. Anyway, I've noticed that I'm waffling there a bit. I wanted to keep this video kind of short. Hopefully you'll see what I mean when I say I'm not being negative on it. It's just easier to point out those flaws when, if you like Pathfinder, you'll like PFS. Anyway, I would be interested in your thoughts on this. Let me know and see what people say. Anyway, I'm going to go. Take care and good gaming. See you next time.